Welcome back to the Grand Solar Minimum channel. Today is Wednesday, May 2nd, 2018. Checking out our solar conditions. Right now our solar wind speed sitting at 355.6 kilometers with a density of 3.9. Take a look at our sun. We are spotless once again. That's 4 days in a row now. 71 days for 2018 without spots. Only less than a little over a quarter of the way through the year, and we're about to surpass the 2017 total. Our KP indices are at a 1 with our 24-hour max at a 2. And take a look at the SDO. We have a pretty big coronal hole that's opened up right now, and this looks similar to the one that we were reported on several months ago, the middle of March, with the gash in the center of the sun. I do believe this would be that same particular coronal hole. I could be wrong, but if I had to take a guess, that looks a lot like the same one that we had that's reoccurring over the last 2 months. They do expect to see some solar wind speeds off of this on May 6th. It is forecasted it could be a G1 class geomagnetic storms as well, so good for aurora watching. We'll keep our eyes on this one. Take a look at our TSI totals for April 23rd. I'm sorry, the 24th. We're sitting at a 1360.73. It was the last reading. All right, take a look at some of our headlines from SPACEWEATHER.com. Sunspots vanishing faster than expected. May 1st, 2018. Sunspots are becoming scarce, very scarce. So far in 2018, the sun has been blank for almost 60% of the time, with whole weeks going by without spots. Today's sun, shown here as an image from NASA's SDO, is typical of the features of the solar disk. The fact that the sunspots are vanishing comes as no surprise. Forecasters have been saying for years that this would happen. For the current solar cycle 24 comes to an end. The surprise is how fast. Solar cycle 24 is declining more quickly than forecast, announced NOAA Space Weather Prediction Center on April 26. The plot shows observed sunspot numbers in the blue versus the official forecast in the red. And I've already brought this up a few days ago in one of our other broadcasts that shows how far lower than we are right now than we were actually forecasted. I think forecasters had this solar cycle kind of rounding out, and what I mean by that is staying with that red baseline and coming down still in 2020, not quite to the bottom. Right here, this is indicating that 2018 is hitting rock bottom, so now begins the trend of how long we stay rock bottom as predicted in this cycle coming up, and it's a pretty weak cycle as well. So link is in the description. Very interesting article on SPACEWEATHER.com, always resourceful. And I'm not going to go over this one. This article came out in 2012, and like I said, I'll just briefly kind of touch base with this, but the point I'm trying to make is Forbes.com has been a website, a major publication that is continually reminding folks that we're not warming, if this is going to be a cooling situation. And I read over this earlier, and it doesn't really talk a lot about the solar cycles or anything like that. This has a lot to do with the oceans and everything like that. But still, 2012, Forbes has, been continually talking about global cooling, and today, their latest, they're talking about is civilization, or I'm sorry, this was from the 10th of April, but is civilization ready for eruption of the next supervolcano? And I bring this up because I think I've reported now on 3 or 4 articles from Forbes as they're trying to alert people. And this article here, it basically talks about how 203 years ago we had the eruption of Tambora. It gives off the numbers from that. 12,000 people estimated were killed in the eruption's first hours. This was causing global cooling. The ash that was in the atmosphere blocked the total solar radiance and cooled the country, the globe, where parts of the world had what they called a year without a summer, especially in the Northeast, and affected crops worldwide. So I think it's interesting that we see Forbes consistently bringing up articles that we need to be alert for. We need to be aware that this has actually been predicted that we will see a major eruption or a major earthquake between now and sometime 2033 So between now and that point, which for most of us listening right now, that's in our lifetime. So it's something to keep an eye on, and I like how they bring up the fact 203 years ago, the Tambora volcano erupted. It's very important. They are trying to line up the 206-year cycle with what's happening. And the latest on the global temps, drroyspencer.com. Now, a lot of us were taking some stabs at this one. I thought we would be a little closer to maybe a 0.15 or as low as a 0.10. I know Starman came back with a plus 2.9, which that's typical for this time of year. You would think that with the sun and everything, the angle, and we'd be warming, but actually April did fall just a little bit. They cooled by 0.03 in 1 month. And remember, that is what the global warming crowd likes to tell us, is that during this minimum, we're only going to cool 0.03 degrees Celsius. Well, we've done that almost on a monthly basis. So the numbers keep going down. We are now down 0.67 degrees Celsius from that February 2016 peak of 0.88 Celsius above baseline. We're creeping closer and closer. Now, we were at this number last June as well. So this is not the first time we've touched this number in recent history, but we're starting to see this downward trend happening faster and faster. And this is, in my opinion, folks, this is a very, very sharp decline. You can see where they're pointing at right here. And if you look at where it peaked out, this peak right here that I got circled at the very top, the second one, that was the October value of 0.63 above baseline. And since October, look how steep that decline has been. So the proof is in the pudding, as they say. I'll leave the link in the description for this as well. I've lost my place, Mari. Here we go. I'm getting old man eyes. Massive sinkhole opens in New Zealand after record-breaking rain. How record-breaking? 5.7 inches in a 24-hour period. Now, this sinkhole opened up about 656 feet long, about 98 feet wide, and 65 feet deep. This area is known for sinkholes, and this is noted as the 9th serious sinkhole in the area in recent time. This is under, there's various fault lines also located in this particular area. So again, this is not something that's like over the top freakish, but what is freakish is the size of this. And they had to send a drone down in to evaluate what's down there. And this guy here saying it's the second. He said this is the largest I've seen. Prior to this would be about a third of the size of it. So this is really big. They sent a drone in for a closer inspection. What they found was that what they see at the bottom of this hole, the original 60,000-year-old volcanic deposit that came out of this crater. Then there's a stack of about 10 to 12 meters of sediment sitting on top of it from lakes that have formed in this crater. The top 3 meters of is volcanic ash. So this is some pretty incredible stuff, guys. We have this giant fissure that's broke out here in New Zealand. Again, I'm not going to play the video. Last time I did that, we got blocked. So I'll let you guys check it out on your own. The link will be in the description. So just another example, though, the sinkholes. I did a story a couple days ago in Florida. Very odd sinkhole there. Actually, water shot out from the bottom of this retention pond and drained it out in 3 different vortices. But I'm still looking for an update on that. I'm curious to see how that progresses, because it didn't look like it was getting any better. Just 24 hours, they were looking at some massive holes that kept developing. So some crazy stuff we're seeing. Arizona governor declares a state of emergency as tender fire chars over 11,000 acres. We've been talking about this area, guys. What we were worried about this year, this summer, is already starting to come to fruition, and that is fire danger in the Southwest. Now, what the pattern that we're seeing right now is when we have a, how should I say this, warmer East Coast, Midwest, and Southeast, it seems like that the Southwest is going to be a little bit cooler. But once the Northeast cools down again, the pattern changes, and the West will heat up once again, which I will show you here in a bit. But the fire broke out around 1825 UTC on the 27th of April. and is still 0% contained. Now, this came out today. Initially, the blaze was about 500 acres, but by morning of May, the fire had burned up to about 11,420 acres of forest, and forced evacuation of several communities. Once again, thank you to the watchers for putting out great information, all the resources that you need right here to find out what's going on, to keep up with the information. Link will be in the description. Hopefully, you know, I haven't seen anything yet for any kind of rain relief in that area, but I did see some cooler temperatures, so hopefully that helps as well. And a really, really, really great article, guys, and I'm not going to lie to you, I'm still reading this, but climate change due to solar variability or greenhouse gases, part A. Now, I did skim through most of this, and this article is probably the best so far. I haven't seen part B yet. It hasn't come out, but so far what this article is doing, it's laying out the two theories. Are greenhouse gases warming us? And it talks about the oceans and everything that it goes into with these theories. So I think the first case it's made was a very convincing one, but I want to read to you the final excerpt of this article, because that to me is the exclamation point of this article here. Again, lots of useful information, the predictions and what we're actually observing. This one I found very interesting. The predictions right here, but here's where we really are. So again, link will be in the description, but I want to read what we are, like I said, this is the slam dunk for me. Here we go. It says, as mentioned above, 99.9% of the Earth's surface heat capacity is in the oceans and less than 0.1% is in the atmosphere. Further, CO2 is only 0.04% of the atmosphere. It beggars belief that a trace of gas, CO2, in the atmosphere that itself contains only a trace amount of the total thermal energy on the surface of the Earth can control the Earth's climate. This is not the tail wagging the dog. This is a flea on the tail of the dog wagging the dog, so to speak. Extraordinary evidence is needed to convince us of this hypothesis. Since the impact of man-made CO2 in the climate has never been measured and is only crudely estimated with unvalidated models, the jury is still out on this idea. Now, a lot of you say, well, this is biased. This, you know, the person writing this article, this is what they believe. Are they putting out the truth as far as laying out both sides of the information? All I can say is the link will be in the description. You take a look for yourself. But I think it's pretty convincing that this guy's trying to be fair about how he compares the two and what theory is more likely. And I think a lot of us, well, I know everybody that's watching right now agrees that CO2 is a small part of the issue here. And once again, you hear that number, 0.04% of the atmosphere. That is the biggest echoed number of CO2 that I hear about all the time. Just a reminder how small of a difference it is for the atmosphere, 0.04%. So you're telling me that 0.04% is warming over the 99.9% of the Earth's oceans, and that's where our heat comes from, is the oceans. That's what they're calculating this. So we know that 99% of the heat comes from the oceans, but yet still CO2 alarmists want you to believe that our man-made CO2 is causing us to warm and not the oceans. And I think here too at this channel we've been trying to show a little bit more information on the oceans, and Starman and Rob, they've been giving me tons of papers to review. Hopefully I'll be able to put a video out about what is going on with these ocean cycles, because these play a big part in this as well. Link will be in the description. I'm telling you guys will enjoy this read. I think this is a well thought out article, and just wanted to kind of show off a little bit, you know, the hail that looks like it snowed. I know parts of Colorado need the moisture as well. May brought hail to parts of Colorado Tuesday, and heavy snow to the part of the mountains. But that's something that happens here during the spring. So, like, again, we're not reporting that this is amazing, but I just wanted to show, because they are in need of moisture out there. And again, this does look like some light snow, but you could see this is pea to marble size hail. So nothing too damaging, but a lot of farmers were saying they hope that this is not a sign of the 2018 crop season. And this area is prone to severe weather at times. So good heads up right now. The mountains, yeah. They're also saying that this system is going to bring about 8 to 14 inches to the mountains. And like I said, they need the moisture out there. So this is a good storm for once. However, they don't need the floods. But I'm sure at this point, they'll take what they can get to help get these crops jump-started. And real quickly, 4-inch hail reported. I saw this last night and was amazed. We were actually looking at possibilities of 5-inch diameter hail, and that's not over yet. May debuted with the first round of severe weather for central Kansas as well. Tornado warnings were issued for Barton, Rush, and Edwards counties. Tuesday night, the tornadic storm that moved across North Barton County delivered punishing hail. The tornadic storm brought warnings for Lincoln and Ellsworth when it moved north from Barton County. Tornado warnings were also issued for Mitchell County. Softball-sized hail, that's 4 inches in diameter, was reported in Sioux Lake. Barton County, with also 3-inch hail reported on the ground. Tennis ball-sized hail was reported 7 miles north of Hosington. 2.5 inches of hail was reported as well in Otis, and 3 miles northwest of Olmutz in Barton County. So they saw anywhere from 2 to 4 inches, 4-inch in diameter hail in central Kansas yesterday. And again, May 1st, it's like the switch has been flipped on, and here we are with the severe weather. You know, weather forecasters have been saying for over a week, this is going to be the worst severe outbreak of the year. There's some information out there that will convince me and has convinced me that the reason why, if you go to EarthNull and look at something called the Cape, the energy is more than enough to produce these big hailstorms. And there are areas that could see 5-inch diameter hail today. Another pattern change this weekend will lead to severe weather snooze in cooler east and hotter southwest. We just talked about that. Reconfiguration of the jet stream this weekend will bring cooler temperatures to the east, and the southwest will heat up again. The pattern will change also to bring an end to the multi-day severe weather threat. So the jet stream will reconfigure itself into a broad southward dip over the eastern states, with a large northward bulge developing over the west. This is a familiar pattern that dominated the United States for much of April, which, by the way, let's hope that doesn't continue, because there are some folks saying that even all the way through mid-May, we could still see below average temperatures here in the Northeast. They're saying cooler temperatures relative to average will return to much of the east beneath that jet stream dip, following the first prolonged warm spell this spring for the Midwest and Northeast. Again, the link will be in the description. So I know that we've been sitting nicely around 70 degrees, and the weekend we are going to be looking at highs in the low 60s, possibly upper 50s. So just a reminder that, you know, this is the up and downs of spring. As we see next week, we cool off, and here we go. There's that heat in Vegas and Phoenix. Phoenix looking at 106 degrees on Sunday. You guys are about to heat up big time. Texas is about to see some serious heat. El Paso. So just a little bit of a warning here for next week's weather. Also, while we're here at the Weather Channel, 2 more rounds of severe storms for today and tomorrow will hammer the plains in the Midwest into Thursday. Tornadoes, damaging winds, and large hail are all threats. Thursday, another round of storms will strike the Mississippi Valley to Texas. A few storms may also spread northeast Thursday and Friday. So they're saying more severe thunderstorms and the threat of tornadoes are about to fire up once again in parts of the plains and Midwest Wednesday. Yet another round is expected Thursday following Tuesday's tornadic supercells. There are 120 reports of severe weather on Tuesday alone. Kansas, Nebraska, and Iowa among 18 reports of tornadoes. There appears to have been at least 7 actual tornadoes on Tuesday. Damage surveys are ongoing from the National Weather Service in Nebraska and Kansas. Here's a map here showing us where we had our tornadic. Also, this was Mari. I don't know if you remember last night me showing you the radar, the part where the hooks. Yes, yeah, the hook signatures last night. We weren't watching any weather channels. We were just kind of looking at a live radar. I said, this is not good. This normally means rotation. And sure enough, we have several tornadoes in that region of the radar that we saw last night. So not surprised here, as it looked pretty nasty. Tonight, another round of severe thunderstorms will fire up Early afternoon from parts of the western and central Kansas into western Oklahoma, the Texas Panhandle too. These storms will become numerous, forming a cluster of severe storms by evening in central and eastern Kansas and southeastern Nebraska, pushing into Iowa, Missouri, Illinois, and southern Wisconsin Wednesday night. Additional storms may fire up Wednesday night in part of western and southwestern Texas. Threats are going to be very large hail, folks. Not just hail, not large, very large hail. Tornadoes, damaging gusts are most likely in the region. Shaded darkest red, purple. Now, here I saw, again, I know some of you are not all agreeing with some of these YouTube channels, but I did see a video yesterday that gave an alert about this possible extreme hail event happening right here. And the Weather Channel has actually got a little bit further west, back a little bit more west now and north. But credit to him, Mr. BB3, who did call for this. He did make the alert. I think it was Thursday or Wednesday, or not Thursday, I'm sorry, Monday. He made the alert about the 5-inch possibility of hail. And sure enough, yesterday we saw 4-inch hail, and there was a report of 4.5. Large hail, damaging winds, gusts, perhaps a few tornadoes. This is Thursday night. So we're not looking at very large hail, but still a threat for it. And this time we've got threat from all the way from the Mexican border through New England, all the way to Boston, all of New York. And, you know, again, New York, we don't see that kind, especially in Western New York. We don't see severe weather like that. We had a few storms last year. Could this be our first one on Thursday night? Also, they're not going to rule out a storm for Friday.
God bless the neighbors.
Good timing. The link is in the description. It's a lawnmower. Folks, we got the window open today in our office, enjoying our nice weather. He's tilling his 8x11 front yard. All right, so here's a look at the tropical tidbits, guys. Let's see here. Take a look at our moisture situation today. This is for Thursday. Let's take it back a little bit. That's Tuesday. And, of course, Wednesday, we are going to see this action just fire up out of nowhere into Thursday. But it looks to me that GFS is trying to indicate that we're going to see a little bit more severe weather on Thursday than we were on Wednesday originally thought. So we'll keep our eyes on that. You know what? Let's go ahead and just refresh that just to be on the safe side. So GFS has it started on Thursday. Let's go backwards, though. Yeah, we're not seeing the development here on Wednesday like they originally thought. Here's the development right there of the severe weather for Tuesday. And GFS is trending that it won't be as active as once thought. They do start to fire up, though, in the same area. So who knows? These storms could intensify. Well, there we go. That image does show a little bit heavier into Iowa right here and northeastern Nebraska. So it does get fired up again tonight. Moves quickly through the northern Midwest into Canada. And then our next storm system, which is sitting back here in Colorado, was going to move on out. Now, this is encouraging. Folks in Arizona, we are starting to get a little bit of shower activity in parts of your state, but it's not going to be enough, but it's a start. Wow. Thank you, Waylon. And finally, by the time we get to Friday, more rain over the same areas that's already had 2 rounds of severe storms all the way into northeast by the end of the weekend, and another round for western New York and the New England by Friday and Saturday. So a washout for the next several days after tonight for us here in the Northeast, the Midwest, and the Northern Plains. But check out Texas. Moisture starting up from the Gulf from there. By the end of the weekend, we see that system move off. And combining with what we may be our first tropical storm right here, it does look like it is turning back out to sea. But if it combines with that storm and it tracks a little bit, that's something we're just going to have to keep our eyes on. Could it be our first impact of a tropical storm on the east coast of the United States? We'll keep an eyes on it. But late into the month, about the 9th day of May, we're looking at more rain possibly developing in New Mexico. Lots of it, actually, compared to what we're seeing right now. So this is a good indication that we might start to see some relief here in the southwest, but also very heavy in some cases and severe. And as we play out through May, typical pattern, look at that, folks. May 16th, we are looking at a low-pressure system that is possibly going to bring snow to Montana, Idaho, Washington, and Oregon, into Nevada and Colorado and Utah. So just when you thought you were out of the woods, we didn't think we'd say the word snow again. I think the May 7th, a lot of people, that's when you start to say, now that's weird. We don't normally get snow past that day. So something we'll have to keep our eyes on. But you know us, we will let you guys know if there's any more developing headlines. Mari, how's the chat doing today?
The chat is good. I got a little distracted by the noisy neighbors and the doggy, but other than that, now that the noise control is taken care of,
Well,
we got Starman and a bunch of other people in here. Carol, Milky Way Weekly, a bunch of people in here. So hi everyone. Hope you're all doing well.
yeah, thanks again, guys, for tuning in to the afternoon special today. Tomorrow we should be back in our normal evening slot around 8:30, and again on Friday 8:30, and then we'll Saturday it could be up in the air. We'll just have to play it by ear. But we will break free if there is any, or break through, I should say, if there's any updates on severe weather tonight, because tonight looks to be, or is predicted to be, a little bit more active than last night, and possibly Thursday could be the worst night of the three. So we'll keep our eyes on that. That's going to do it for us today, guys. Hope you enjoy your day. We'll talk soon.